Walk into any market in India right now, and you'll hear the same complaint. With the Diwali and the wedding season fast approaching, the main ingredient for all those sweets is suddenly stretching household budgets to the breaking point. This chart shows the alarming trajectory of retail sugar prices. Within a compressed timeline of just 17 days, the cost spiked by nearly 40%. That is a jump of about 20 rupees per kilo, tearing right through normal historical baselines. That inflation bleeds directly into the broader economy. When refined sugar gets this expensive, the cost of manufacturing baked goods, soft drinks, and commercial sweets climbs right along with it. Consumers are already bracing for even worse. If the current market trajectory holds, people fear retail prices could easily breach 80 rupees per kilo in the coming months. Prices have departed from seasonal norms, creating a shock that hits consumers at the exact moment demand is peaking. The severity of this shortage is confusing when you look at the fields. India operates on a massive scale as the world's second-largest producer of sugarcane, with states like Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra churning out hundreds of millions of tons every year. Traditionally, that massive agricultural footprint generated a deep surplus. The yields were so high that India confidently held its position as a dominant global exporter, supplying sugar to the rest of the world. Yet today, the government is discussing something that hasn't happened in a decade, dropping import duties to 0% just to bring foreign sugar into the country and survive the deficit. Which begs an obvious question: if the rural fields are still packed with sugarcane, where exactly did all the domestic sugar vanish to? The massive domestic yield is being systematically diverted by a hidden shift in national policy. To understand the diversion, you have to look at the macroeconomy. India has a staggering crude oil import bill, and the government has been under intense pressure to reduce the country's reliance on foreign oil. The government's wide-scale solution was to stretch the domestic fuel supply by blending ethanol directly into commercial petrol. Right now, up to 35% of that ethanol is sourced from a very specific place. It comes straight from agriculture. The commercial ethanol mixed into your gas tank is manufactured directly from the sucrose found in sugarcane. Because of this fuel mandate, massive sugar refineries across the country are intentionally choosing to process their raw cane juice into ethanol rather than crystallizing it into the sugar you eat. This diagram illustrates the zero-sum reality of the manufacturing process. A raw sugarcane stalk enters the factory and is split down two distinct paths. Every drop of sucrose converted into fuel for the pump is a grain of sugar permanently removed from the food supply. As the national demand for blended petrol grows, the factory pipeline leading to the sugar sack is shrinking to a trickle, while the pipeline to the fuel pump expands rapidly to meet the new quotas. To shrink the national oil import bill, the government effectively traded the raw materials meant for the kitchen to keep the fuel pumps flowing. That industrial deficit is now being amplified by an environmental threat. El Niño weather patterns are disrupting seasonal rainfall, drying out fields, and creating intense anxiety about the yield of upcoming harvests. When agricultural forecasts look grim, the commodities market reacts instantly. The fear of a poor future harvest triggers heightened speculative behavior among traders. Traders and middlemen see the ethanol-driven shortage and the dry weather, and they begin intentionally stockpiling massive quantities of sugar in warehouses, restricting the immediate supply to artificially drive up the price even further. The man-made deficit in the market met a natural cycle of weather anxiety, leaving the door open for traders to exploit the shortage. The policy designed to save money by reducing oil imports has instead forced India to spend money importing zero-duty sugar from abroad. The situation could soon become even more extreme. If domestic sugarcane production drops too low to meet the ambitious fuel targets, India might actually find itself importing raw ethanol from the United States to make up the difference. To stop the bleeding, the government has triggered emergency measures. They've enacted an absolute ban on international sugar exports and imposed strict stock limits on local traders to flush hoarded supplies back into the market. As you can see in this graphic, the government is caught in an unstable balancing act. Pushing the scale toward green energy and E20 fuel targets actively destabilizes the nation's domestic food security. While national policies are drafted to balance global trade deficits and energy grids, the immediate cost always trickles down. Right now, it's the everyday citizen paying the price for that balancing act, 1 kilo of sugar at a time.